Leave us, listener of podcasts. This is a sanctuary for the lost and wretched. There is nothing here for you to pillage or plunder, except this free offer for an audiobook from Audible.com. Get a free download at audibletrial.com/watchoutforfireballs when you sign up for a trial to check out their service. Over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Now please, stick around obediently.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
Leave us, slayer of demons. This is a sanctuary for the lost and wretched. There is nothing here for you to pillage or plunder. Please, leave quietly.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
And I am Vivienne.
And you're listening to Bonfireside Chat. It is an undead favorite.
And this week we are talking about World 5.2 and 5.3 of Demon's Souls, finishing out the Valley of Defilement. And as you heard, we are joined once again by Vivienne, continuing the streak of terrible areas. We're so sorry to do this to you.
Yeah, no, I halfway volunteered for this. Like every time I end up
true.
giving a sort of a suggestion to Gary, and then he's like, "Oh, well, let's just have you on for that episode."
Yeah. Well, at a certain point, we need to save you from yourself.
When Dark Souls 2 comes around, we'll have you on for the Arbitrator's Mung Cave when that we get to that area. So
there's an entire level that's just crawling through a giant undead insects like rectum or something. It's like, that's for me.
Yeah. The Thoraxis Hall, Yeah,
Thoraxis Hall. The cloaca fields of the dark, adjudicator. The starfish field of chocolate water and Limp Biscuits.
So eventually, like, you start trying to come up with parodies, but some of these sound like areas I'd actually like to go to.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I want to see what Dark Souls does with hot dog water.
I was about to say the fallen kingdom of Bloodstool, but like I would like to go there.
Yeah, and it's probably like a throne made out of blood or some kind of weird translation thing. There's probably very little poop in it.
Yeah.
I feel like this level is way too close to the Fallen Kingdom of Bloodstool. You can make jokes about that.
You can tell it's healthy bloodstool though, because when you have blood in your stool, if it's red, you're out ahead. If it's black, send it back. Because if it's black, it's digested, so it's internal bleeding.
Yeah,
it's a true medical fact.
Do you have that? Do you have that pinned above the toilet, Gary?
I have it memorized. I have it pinned next to a little handcrafted rear view mirror I created for my bathroom. It's disgusting. I'm disgusting. Anywho, previously,
welcome to 5.2, guys.
It only gets worse.
Species a whole lot, and God. So it's both ends of the spectrum. So previously, we had navigated the precarious walkways at the top of the Valley of Defilement, narrowly avoiding death by clubbing before fighting the Leechmonger, who sucks. There you go, Cole.
Yep. Why not?
And now we are faced with the valley part of the Valley of Defilement. We came for the defilement, we stay for the valley.
You probably should have gone home.
You bought the whole valley, but you'll only need the valley.
Use the defilement. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the infamous area. This is what everybody cries bullshit on. I'm sure human shit and various kinds
people
of
just cry shit.
Yeah, people just cry shit.
Cry shit.
Man.
Yeah. So the archstone for this. It says it is a swamp infested by poisonous and vile creatures that lies in a filth-encrusted valley. Encrusted. The poor journey to this rotten place to offer their souls so they might be freed from their suffering.
Yeah. So, and that plays into the greater lore, which we're going to talk about when we get to the Maiden Estrella fight. But yeah, everybody here is afflicted with some kind of disease or so, And I think we hit a little bit last time, but this whole place is just kind of propped up to in service of that.
So I think when you live in what might be a literal septic tank, you're excused from having some sort of disease or other.
I pass no judgment. we're very. That's one way to live your life.
There's a whole movement that says kids are too clean these days, and that their immune systems are not developing, antibodies. Like these plague-ridden people, they're not going to catch a cold when they go to ride on a plane or anything. Like they are immune to all of it.
Yeah. Don't vaccinate your kid and also roll him around on an airport bathroom floor.
Yeah. Also send him to the Valley of Defilement.
Also known as an airport bathroom floor.
Yeah.
Feces from literally all over the planet.
Yeah.
Yep.
I very rarely see an airport, not airplane.
Yeah. Airport.
I say airplane bathrooms have gotten.
Yeah. That's small enough that they could spray decontaminants in there. But the airport. Yeah, that's that is you cannot stem that tide.
Yeah. You'd think a bus station would be worth, but nope. Worse, but nope.
Mary Worth.
Yes.
You would think you would read a Mary Worth about a bus station.
The wiki says about this area that this is a place for people to put aborted or unwanted children.
Yeah, so that's something that supposedly pops up in the Selin Vinland dialogue, but in looking at the transcripts, I found no mention of that.
I didn't either. It's a popular bit of. I mean, it's kind of supported a little bit by an enemy later. Mm-hmm. But when I read that and I was looking for evidence of it, it made me think: what if these people who live here were the children who didn't die when they were dropped off? These are the insane swamp people who were abandoned and they thought they were going to die in the swamp. And this is just what happens when you grow up here.
There is a line from the Filthy Woman in 5.2. I copied her dialogue down because, as I said before the show started, you guys identified me as a lorehead, so I have a reputation to live up to. The Filthy Woman says all the men worship her like she's the Virgin Mary, which is weird enough on its own. You can unpack that a little. But then also the same men who would snatch my child away from me. So I don't know if the kids who live in the valley are being thrown into the pit at the end, or
how crazy would it be if she wasn't a dweller here, but her kid was taken from her and brought here to be forgotten. Maybe she had a prestigious husband who didn't want a kid, so it's down to the valley, down to the memory hole, and she came here to try and find him and maybe reconnect.
Yeah, and got broken.
Yeah,
her brain went to shit.
Yeah. She is one of only two actual humans you see here, aside from Garl and Maiden. But yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's probably my favorite bit of speculation yet.
It's a cool idea, and it backs up with the plague babies, which are super creepy. I mean, we'll get to them, so I don't want to spoil.
Yeah, we don't want to. We don't want to blow the load.
The spoiler.
Let's not let our dead baby out of the box before.
It's not going anywhere.
Let's not go to this child funeral just yet.
Oh God. Do you suppose that people who make baby caskets can't get insured because of depression?
It's just them and pushing tin people. Who are pushing tin.
You mean John Cusack and Billy Bob Thornton?
Yep.
Okay.
You can insure Billy Bob Thornton after that interview.
Yeah.
No, I'll take him.
Yeah, well, and they were so broken they weren't able to team up again until the Ice Harvest, 12 years later.
Anywho, so this was my stopping point. Is that agreed for everyone? This was my first playthrough, the biggest point of resistance for me.
No, not really, actually, which is sort of, I am not living up to the level's reputation right now. I don't know if it was my experience with Blighttown or my fetish for the Thief's Ring playing through this game, but I honestly, while I found it super confusing and I spent hours just kind of ambling around the swamp aimlessly picking up bad treasures and dying to stuff, I didn't really have a hard time. Once I got myself onto the critical path, I didn't find it especially difficult, and I was pretty much always able to fight things on land. So when people talk about how difficult it is to fight stuff in the swamp, that didn't really line up with my experience, because it always seemed like anytime there was a monster, you could kind of run forward to meet them where they were standing, I guess.
I most of my deaths were probably to the Black Phantom. that was there, like, because I just wandering off that direction, seeing shiny things and trying to get it. I didn't beat the Black Phantom for the first time until this playthrough. Like, just
she kind of patrols. Like, she has a weird, like, she's not super fast, and she kind of walks around. So if you know she's there once you die to her once, you can kind of watch her and sneak around her.
Because she has that glow, she's visible actually from further away than you would expect too. And if you have the Thieves' Ring, your radius,
which is another interesting note to this level. It's pretty much Tomb of Giants on top of being also the swamp from Blighttown, because it's probably the darkest level in the game.
Yeah, I did the bonfire side chat, like, look up thing, and there's nothing. Like, it's just a big, dark gray skybox of rain. So there's raining, so you have access to the sky. But what is it raining, I guess?
Yeah.
Well, the question.
I mean, like, it can rain in caves because of relative humidity and, like, weird changes in temperature. But it's most likely that it is open to the sky.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a wall for me for the first time, because of the giant depraved ones. Like, I was not able to either maneuver my way around them on land, and God help you if you get into the swamp. I've only ever died to the meat cleaver Black Phantom a couple of times, and that was just when I let my guard down. Really, otherwise I can avoid her entirely. But those giant depraved ones, like that kind of like ushered in this problem solving mode, which is like, okay, so how do I kill these guys without getting close to them? And then that led to me going out and like doing some kind of like training montage of getting my lava bow in order to try and figure out how to get them from a distance. So that that was the wall for me. I went into it expecting the worst, because here we are 4 years later. This area's reputation precedes itself so much that I was willing to shoulder through until I hit those giant depraved one walls.
Yeah, even with the they move surprisingly fast. Like that's what my first playthrough, I had the lava bow. Like I pretty much always have the lava bow, and you can get the first hit off, but it takes 3 usually to kill them, depending on the arrow you're using. Yeah, and they would still kind of get up to me, and they always one hit me.
Yep,
like just more or less always one shot me.
Yeah.
And there's a lead up to him, like because the one that's by himself on the island is all well and good, but the 2 of them together, kind of guarding the village.
I think it's 3 actually who are guarding the village.
Yeah, 3 guarding the village, and then later is the island with 4. Yes. Is what I'm thinking of. But the getting those 3, I just couldn't. I was on dry land and everything, but they would just I'd aggro one of them, he'd run up to me and backing into the swamp, and then I couldn't move, and
Yeah, we said it last time, but it bears repeating because they're gigantic. It's actually really hard to get your distance right because there's no depth perception. So I'm just kind of like, is he close or just really big? Or is he far away or really small or whatever? Yeah. Oh, I'm dead. Shit.
There's not even any terrain to compare them to, really, because you just have this big brown expanse of ground under you and no walls anywhere.
That's not ground.
Yeah.
It's something.
It's ground up something. Ew.
Oh, man, poop jokes.
Yeah, that's going to be keep buckle up. Yeah, and the beginning of this level. So when you're just kind of making your way down, it's just like it's not hard, but you can't quite just rush your way down,
right?
The way I want to. Just because there's the guy with the on the main floor, which these guys hit. I feel like they hit a little harder than the ones in 5.1. I don't have any empirical evidence to back that up, but when I would get impatient, like this game does that classic Souls game thing of punishing your impatience. So I would die to those giant depraved ones and then just run down and try to get to them as soon as possible, and then end up getting kind of fucked up from regular depraved ones.
We did note that along that another rickety walkway before you get down to the floor of the valley itself, you see the bridge. You see, shortcut, cool. When am I going to see that? Not for another couple hours. Well, fuck.
The ironic thing too is that when you see it, you don't need it.
Right.
Because if you get as far as that shortcut, like the next 2 bosses are so easy, you're more or less fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's there to make you feel better about yourself. But yeah, because of the way that the swamp affects your movement. So 3 things about the swamp: it makes you run real slow. You can run, but it is barely more than a crawl above what your normal speed would be, and your normal speed is real slow. You cannot roll. In fact, you do kind of like, oh no, I'm going to lose my boot in the muck kind of animation.
The game actually sort of stuns you for a second.
Yeah.
Like, punishes you for thinking about rolling.
Yeah. Or instinctively rolling, because why the fuck would you expect not to be able to roll?
Yeah.
And also, none of the enemies are affected by this the way that you are.
Yeah.
So if you leave anything unattended to on your way through this, if something aggroes you and you don't have a thief ring to reduce that, threat radius, they will get you.
Yeah.
So there's no sense trying to hurry.
And it's poison. So like unless you're taking precautions either through buffing your poison resistance or buffing regen items, you're going to kind of constantly be going up against the clock. What's kind of interesting here is that, and just looking at the difference between the two games, like the poison has kind of the same rhythm that it does in Dark Souls.
Yep.
So I imagine that it works the same way. There's the meter, and the speed in which it increases is just affected by your poison resistance. You just can't see it.
Yeah, Dark Souls had the decency to show it to you.
Yeah. So, but it has. I noticed when I was playing it this last time, okay, I've been in the swamp this long. I need to stand out of the swamp about this long to get it down.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of had a feel for it without needing to see it.
Mm-hmm. One advantage to this over Blighttown, though, that I kind of noticed is because Demon Souls doesn't have the Estus system, you can just kind of buy like 99 healing items.
Yeah.
So you're not really as resource deprived. If you go into this level prepared, like if you know what it is and you absolutely hate it, you can kind of load up for bear and bring in, 100 poison cures. And
yeah, that was definitely true. And that's why the big wall for me was the giant depraved ones, because they could one-shot me.
Yeah.
So like the regular, I was able to cure my poison. But even then, like if it was the kind of the stress of battle, having to stop to cure poison would be tricky, like kind of backing away from somebody really slowly who's aggressing and your health is counting down. Like after I got through it, I could just get through it the way that it works in Souls games. But the first time through, that was pretty much my experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah, poison. You're introduced to the second kind of enemy type you're going to find here, which are these jellyfish things.
Horrifying. Really, really unnerving.
Yeah. But pretty harmless.
Oh yeah,
like you can stand on an island and kill all of them.
Yeah, and they're interesting because they don't respawn. In fact, when you kill them in their place, the next time you come through is this desiccated husk that's left behind, which also really unsettling.
The Super Metroid thing, like in at the end of Super Metroid, when you get to the area where the baby Metroid has been feeding. Yeah, and you touch those sand statues and they crumble. That's what that reminded me of.
Yeah. Yeah, but they attack you like angry spiny umbrellas. But yeah, there's really no reason to ever get close enough to them for them to do that.
I've never seen their attack.
Really?
Like when I get to that first bit of dry land, I just kill all of them I can see with my bow, and then do the same thing at the next one.
Yeah,
they're sort of like the slimes in Dark Souls. They kind of do this weird, like, bending themselves into speary point shapes to attack you. Mm-hmm. And they're sort of similar also in that, they're creepy to watch, but they're also kind of ultimately harmless.
Yeah. I just jellyfish freak me out.
Yeah, jellyfish really freak me out. Like, they are nasty looking creatures in real life. I guess like that makes any kind of ocean probably more scary to me than the Valley of Defilement. Like between jellyfish and those fish that disguise themselves as rocks, but when you step on them,
are the most poisonous thing in the world.
Yeah.
On the stream, I was talking about, like, you guys know about that jellyfish that's effectively immortal, right?
Yeah.
Well, what?
It's a jellyfish that it ages, and then it decides, oh shit, I'm about to die from being mad old, and then it just de-ages back down to its little spore form, and then it re-ages back up, and it says, oh shit, I'm about to die forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, it was once a Greek hero that was
scientific explanation we're lacking. Maybe that's it. It's a Greek hero.
No, I think Cole's right. I think it's about to die from being mad old, and then it just de-ages. I think that's the terminology in the scientific.
My description has been peer reviewed.
Yeah, there's an article. De-age and jellyfish. What up with them?
What up with them? Those peers, truth and justice. My right fist to my left fist. Yeah.
But so you get down to the bottom, you go left. We talked about that Black Phantom a little bit, which is difficult if you can't get her to land. Mm-hmm. She has a meat cleaver, which is an overhead strike from that will oftentimes knock you down. if it hits you direct.
and then you get some of that stuff in your mouth, and you might as well be dead anyway.
Yeah. That's something that I never thought of that'd be an advantage in living in the Souls world, is like, if you ever did anything that's so gross you couldn't live with yourself, you just jump off the top of the Nexus and then you're just a new you. So it's like, oh, yeah, I shouldn't have eaten that. Like, I'm going to pay for that tomorrow. And then that's didn't happen. It's brand new me.
But it'd be like the end of Moon. Like, you just see all of these other yous there.
Yeah. But I think that's a tough fight, mostly because she runs at full speed.
Yeah.
And obviously Maneater Mildred is an illusion to her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Although Maneater Mildred is much, much easier to kill.
Yeah, Maneater Mildred's a pussycat. And you get some treasures out here, including weird, like, I'm always interested in the items that don't have analogs between the games. Mm-hmm. The Cat's Ring, which I've never really used, but it's they turn into a spell for Dark Souls. That's essentially fall control.
Yeah. The dexterity stat in Demon Souls actually does the same thing,
mm-hmm.
which is a mechanic that I guess doesn't exist in Dark Souls. I'm not sure. I've never experimented with it.
I don't think there's a way to reduce your fall damage in Dark Souls other than fall control.
Yeah. So in Dark Souls, there are plenty of places where you can use fall control to, like, get shortcuts and et cetera, just because that game is so vertical. Here, I'd never found a place where, like, I was killed by fall damage. I'm always killed by the kill boxes that are just in the world. This would not be useful for me because that wouldn't obviate those kill boxes.
I thought about it after I haven't used it at all either, but I was thinking about I bet you there's some really useful shortcuts you could do in 4.2. Like, I bet you can skip a lot of that Grim Reapering. Oh, yeah. Since that is all one column. Mm-hmm. There, I wonder if this ring, if you could actually jump down from that second landing down to the slugs, because it was confirmed. Like, somebody wrote in and said you can see up there, from the slug room. I wonder if you can do something like that. But you have to search for it. You have to know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. It's for a game that doesn't have. You're right. Like, for a game that doesn't have very much in the way of fall hazards that are avoidable, they spend a lot of time preparing you to deal with them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like, this would not be factored into any speed runs, really, but just because of how
you had to go get it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Instead of going off into that, and that swamp is just so big and landmarkless and directionless. Yeah, it's really weird. Like, there's not even, like, the equivalent area, like, even the swamp of Blighttown, like, there are, pillars, and there are more islands. Yeah. And this is just kind of one set of islands, a few treasures, and then just vast nothingness. And there's two huge areas that are exactly like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at least in Blighttown, you can orient yourself to the skybox, like all of the architecture that's above, and you can always, like, see. I think from every place, you can always either see the Upper Blighttown village kind of stuff, or Quelaag's domain, like the spider's nest. So there are enough, like, not just landmarks, but big like orientation kind of things that can help you out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're trying to get you lost. That's because you're straight off the path.
Mm-hmm. Which I wanted to note, that was another comment that I saw on the ground, actually. There is an island kind of off to one of the corners in the first part of the swamp that has an "I'm lost" note written down. Just nothing else to it. Has over 1,000 upvotes.
Whenever I play Demon Souls, I get so jealous about how good the connectivity is that they can, that it has a much smaller proportion of player base than Dark Souls, but has so much more, kind of interactivity.
All the more reason to be excited about Dark Souls 2 because of the dedicated servers, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, if you go off the left there, you get some of those items. There's the War Scythe if you have that kind of build. Cat's Ring. The way that I end up going through this most of the time is by going right, which gets you around those giant depraved ones on the critical path. And if you have the Thieves' Ring, which you oughta, that gets you to the first fog door, Toot Sweet.
Yeah.
It's like the third or... Yeah.
I will usually kind of just go on the path. Like, now that I know how to take out that giant depraved one. Mm-hmm. Beforehand, though, I didn't like fight him because he has like 3 little mini cronies with him as well, and they will picking those off with a bow and arrow, they'll start coming towards you. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of debris in your way.
Yeah.
Like when I was doing my run through, I had done this part like 1,000 times. I had it down to like, okay, I need to shoot this pile of lumber out of the way to clear this shot, and it was just became very mechanical because it was so I'd done it so many times.
Yeah. I like that debris is there though, like specifically throughout all of this, because it's either this is stuff that fell from up above, or like this used to be habitable area before it was claimed by the swamp.
This used to be our playground.
Yeah.
And then is no longer.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, it's neat that's there, and it's just destructible environments, which that's super fun. But yeah, that fog wall, and then you get into the kind of pathway leading to the other residential district in this area.
Yeah. So there's this big rickety pathway, as you said, up around the left wall, opposite of where you entered. And if you go up there, you find these gigantic mosquitoes that will shoot blood at you with the force of a shotgun blast.
Yep. Shotgun blood. And a bunch of neat little traps. Like there's a little recessed cave in the wall that is like a clown car for depraved ones.
Yeah.
Like I always try to trigger it so I can control it, but I was just like standing there just shooting them one by one as they came out, and there's just so many of them. Yeah. So, but they're setting traps for you. Like that is, again, just you are the aggressor here, and they're defending something. It's also, if you do, like lock-on killed me a bunch here when I got high enough up.
Yeah.
Like locking on to something and then it dying and then my camera shunting to a mosquito I didn't know was there.
Yeah.
And then I press forward and that is a new direction now, and end up kind of falling off the path.
Yeah.
So, and you can get high enough to where that will kill you in here.
Yeah. So. The pro tip here is to jump off right away as soon as you're over the dam wall. When you're on the dam tour. But yeah, if you continue down there, you take the full brunt of the mosquitoes.
Yeah. Yep. Do the mosquitoes spawn almost unlimited like they do in Blighttown? Like, will they continue? I seem to run into them at set intervals, but I had never hung around any longer than I needed to.
Yeah, I always hit them at set intervals. I've only ever encountered 4 on my runs, and it's never been any more than that. And I've dwelled around, and I think that they're less persistent than they are in Blyton.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Blyton?
Yeah. That's what I just felt like felt like mixing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're into Selen Vinland here. She is Garl Vinland's sister, and she came here looking for him to deliver the last words of her father. She is also kind of a religious entity, but she's not here as a missionary.
Right.
And you do a side quest for her. One of the very few things that I think could really definitively be called a side quest in either of these games, where she wants you to deliver his crest to her. Literally dies, and you get a reward for it. Just like in a video game. So it's kind of weird.
It's pretty prosaic. I mean, you're just trying to bring her closure. She's like, what happens? And so, I get it. This is the NPC who we said the everything in the wiki points to her revealing the horrible abortion secret. But none of her dialogue actually belies this.
Yeah.
No.
She does have a few kind of interesting bits regarding the Estrella fight and stuff, but not anything about it being a terrible abortion valley.
Yeah.
She seems kind of ignorant about the valley, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's under the same delusion that Urbane and everybody else seems to be about Estrella, which just kind of goes further to say that the filthy woman is the only one who's shooting straight with you.
Yeah, maybe. I think we'll talk about it in a minute, but I think it's definitely a gray issue. In going through it this time and paying like closer attention, like I've kind of have a different kind of attitude on Estrella, but we'll get to that in a moment. Yeah, and so she does that side quest. There's a lot of activity with her in is it black or white world tenancy?
Either. You don't find her in the vanilla. In the vanilla valley.
I think she shows up in white, and then you can fight her black phantom version.
Yeah.
In black, and which is tough because she has the blind, which goes through shields, and is a badass idea. It's like an illusory sword that only cuts through flesh.
Yeah. And speaking of things with no analog in Dark Souls, it's a pretty unique weapon, pretty cool weapon.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, there's the shodel, but that just kind of goes around. Like this is an energy sword, and the big advantage of this, I think it weighs 2 pounds or 0.2 pounds or something like that. It's impossibly light because it is made of light.
Does this ignore your armor as well as your shield? Because the shodel just goes around your shield.
It just goes around your shield.
Okay.
But the description, something says about it. It says something about it just kind of it going through your defenses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So or go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say her armor is also out here, way out in the swamp. If you want to run out there to look for it,
there's a little bit of speculation around that. Actually, it was brought to our attention by one of the listeners in our mail, but that probably was the Leechmonger.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because the monster that guards that you have to kill in order to get that dull gold armor to spawn is a leech. It's the only one that you find out here, and the idea being that we hypothesized that the Leechmonger was a human who was just infested by this leech demon, and was suffering at the center of this. So the idea is either through Dark Souls timey-wiminess, or you killing the Leechmonger and then the body at the center of it washing down here. The idea was that this was one of the knights who came here and was also corrupted by the leeches.
Because there is like kind of a precedent for holy like different churchgoers going here and leaving behind these holy objects.
Yeah,
it's kind of revelations is what they call them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that makes a sense, and it's narratively unsatisfying for the leech monster just to be a big dumb monster or leech monger.
Yeah,
So I'll buy that. It's a cool idea. She also happens to wear it, but it makes sense because they're both from the church.
Yep,
it's a cool set of armor too. It's like a Valkyrie looking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. It's one of those rare sex dependent items too.
Yeah, which I'm glad they got rid of that.
Me too.
The other kind of big piece of treasure that you can get here that's a legendary treasure in the world of From Software is you start running into these slugs.
Yeah.
And you just run into them a couple times, blah, blah, bloop, and you're on the pathway, and you look over, and there's that pod of just like that hanging mass of slugs, like dropping them down. That is disgusting. It is like one of the few things in like one of the Souls games that is fictional and designed to be disgusting, but you could also like imagine like going into your bathroom one day and having it like hang from your shower or something like, or going into your garage. Like,
I've seen your bathroom, Gary. Give yourself more credit. Your bathroom is much cleaner than that.
It is cleaner. It is a little bit more clean than that, but it's also like, it feels like something really domestic and realistic. Like, I don't know if slugs actually do that, but I'd buy it. Yeah. And it just like, I'm just imagining like, well, we had inherited Uncle Job's farmhouse. Let's go clean out the garage. And like, if it's not a gigantic wall of wasps, you're just going to find this. It's repulsive.
It's like a dead possum mama that died while it was still wrapped around a tree.
Or one of those frogs that we hate.
Like one of those Suriname toads. Yeah.
Yeah. Horrible frogs.
Oh God. I can't.
Yeah, these things are just gross.
That giant ball, that's like how slugs and worms and stuff mate, isn't it? Isn't there a thing with that?
I think so, yeah.
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 Just wanted to throw that out there.
So you're just gonna dick block these guys.
Well, yeah, if you don't kill their fuck nest, they respawn forever, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's just more of them emanating out from the center.
Yeah.
5-2.
Yeah,
5-2. Yeah. If you watch the stream that I did of this area, I'm standing there shooting arrows at them. They're like, "Man, why won't they stop?" Because I was thinking I was going to get the Moonlight Sword, and then somebody in the chat had to be like, "You have to go up and knock it down." And I was like, "Oh, I don't want to do that." Yeah. So then I just walked away.
Yeah, it's good. They don't want to stop because they horny, Cole.
Oh yeah, they
well, they got the need to breed. But they're gathered around the Moonlight Sword. Mm-hmm. Like that's what's at the center of the nest, because when you drop them, the sword drops. So why are they breeding and attracted to this sort of moonlight?
Crazy psychosexual energies as a nexus of all the things in the world.
Well, they drop sucker stones, but I think they can also drop faint stones, which is the faith related stones. The large sword of moonlight scales with faith,
right?
But and it also says it's one of the revelations. So you think of some kind of cleric getting lost here and maybe being at the center of that nest at some point.
No.
Why would you do that to me, Gary?
Because this area is really disgusting, and the more you think about it, like the creepier it is. Like, I've never been able to use that sword. I wanted to, but I
was able to use it for my end character in Dark Souls. But
me too.
I was about to compare it to the Ultima weapon, like how that shows up in all the Final Fantasy games, but it looks almost exactly like the Ultima weapon. So
it's kind of similar. It's got the kind of energy blade effect going.
Yeah.
It's neat, and it's one of the few times in the game, like similar to the Stormruler sword, where like the sword is actually there rather than just kind of a glowing item.
Yeah.
And you pull out the sword, which looks real badass, and out of just a bunch of dead slugs. It will never be clean again.
Ugh.
Never.
Yeah. Tainted moon.
So I feel like this is the right time to note that I didn't pick it up on either playthrough.
Yeah.
No?
So I came out ahead.
You didn't have to think about all that. I don't know why I picked it up. I knew I wasn't going to use it. I just wanted to. I mean, I know why. I was playing for the show, and I just wanted to do all the stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Good.
I was going to say I was going to move us on to the giant, the three big dickheads on this the entrance to the village, the bouncers.
Yeah, the second wall in this for me.
When I played through Dark Souls with my sorcery Gravelorded run, there's a Black Phantom version of this encounter in the bottom of Blighttown guarding the entrance to the Great Hollow. Ugh. That is like laid out the same as these guys,
really?
Except they're the giant ogres.
Yeah.
It looks like a clear Demon Souls reference, which is one of those like I love that about Gravelording. It's just like no one's ever going to be able to do this, but we're going to hide all kinds of neat little references if you do it. So, but yeah, and that is less difficult because you can move around better, and those guys are easier to kill.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Are any of those the boulder ones? Or
no, they're all club.
Okay. Yeah.
I think, if I recall, they're all club.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, it's worth noting since we hit the tendency stuff earlier with Selin, Black World Tendency just sprinkles a bunch of Black Phantom giant depraved ones throughout this, including adding them to some of the packs that you have here, which just makes this unacceptable.
Yeah. The one of the things I like the YouTube community was really clamoring for when Dark Souls 2, before they released any ability to play it, was the ability to more easily manipulate that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So similar things that Black World Tendency and Gravelording and everything.
Yeah. And
I really like that idea because it was I haven't done a Black World Tendency playthrough of Demon Souls. That's my plan for when I get a streaming device. Mm-hmm. But my Black Phantom Dark Souls playthrough was tons of fun. Like it is anything that you can do to shake up that kind of predictability in a game that is based on it. Mm-hmm. Adds a lot to the replay value, I think. So I would be in favor of such a thing. I have no idea if they're going to do that, but I know that during the beta there was like a difficulty switch kind of thing that happened, right? Like they
So what they did was in the last, I believe, half hour of the event, they just kind of hit a switch and they gave a message that said, "Yeah, things are about to get a lot harder." And then it just like upset the balance. And I think that they were just checking to see like people who were successful on one run, were they more or less successful on another with that.
I would love to see that kind of, I want that kind of mechanic to be in there. Like something, like some way that changes the world that makes everything more difficult.
Would you want it to be more or less permanent than World Tendency? Because like once you make those decisions, it's pretty much intractable.
Yeah, I would like to make it. I would like to make it less permanent. Like it is. I haven't. I always end up doing White World Tendency to see the events, and then this playthrough that I'm doing now, I'm going to eventually do some Black World Tendency stuff. But you have to go all the way in one direction and then all the way to the other.
Right.
And it's a pain in the ass, and you have to be very intentional to do it.
And you can't really go uphill.
Yep. Yeah, it's
going black is easy, but going white, like once you have Black World Tendency, is basically impossible, especially if you've killed the bosses.
Yeah. It's also very tedious to go black from white. So you're just chomping down on stones of ephemeral eyes. And it just takes forever. So much suicide. Speaking of suicide, you get to this village where many people have probably killed themselves.
Jesus, Gary.
You don't think that's the point of the area.
That's a fucking crazy segue.
That's what they're doing. They're heading to throw themselves into the swamp.
They're heading to cure themselves or to keep themselves alive. It's like a weird downtrodden form of hopefulness.
No way. Like if she's a demon, and we'll get to this, but if they're offering their souls to her, like I don't think they're offering their souls to her to be cured.
Okay.
We'll talk about that in
okay. Yeah. So depending on how you read it, they are either doing something incredibly bleak, or this just happens to be where they're hanging out because it's where it's where their sugar comes from.
It's where the heart is.
Yeah. But so I had something real funny happen to me on this most recent playthrough. So I thieves ringed around the bouncers outside the village, but that doesn't really get you around the shaman. depraved one, which they're not too terribly different than the regular ones, like the knife ones, but they cast something akin to poison spray. I neglected to notice that one was on my tail, and it poison sprayed me and the filthy woman. So I was yes, she doesn't really sell anything, but I felt bad that she died. And yeah, she was dead as fuck by the time I realized anything was wrong.
Probably her kid will never grow up now.
her kid probably grew up like way too much and killed me 500 times before I killed it. So
that's true. It's probably
was her son.
Yeah, exactly.
You actually got into a domestic dispute.
Yeah, but yeah, this is a crazy and confusing area. Like I can't even begin to describe it aside from like it is like an anthill, spider's nest, weird form of chaos architecture. Rickety walkways on top of rickety walkways on top of ambushes kind of area, right?
I think in the Blighttown episode of the first season, and it's been long enough that I'll repeat the point. One of the things that I like more about the Valley of Defilement than Blighttown is that this area is explicitly residential. Mm-hmm. And that's not something you really get in Blighttown, because there's just little cubicles, like cubicles with beds, and sometimes people are waiting to kill you. Sometimes you just walk by and they wake up.
Yeah,
like they're just people here. Like this is a village,
quote unquote people.
There are some depraved ones. I don't know if it's AI bugging out or if it was intentional design that seemed to be not hostile. Like there's one guy that's just kind of standing on the ledge and you can just walk up behind him and backstab him if you feel like it, or you can leave him alone.
Which plays into like the, eventually you run into a lot of those non-aggressive ones here in the next area. But yeah, this is tricky and it's confusing. Even if I've done it a bunch of times, you generally want to go up and to the left if you want to get to the exit, and up and to the right if you want to go unlock the shortcut,
and back and to the left if you want to find out who killed Kennedy.
Yeah, if you want to kill Kennedy, if you want to go through Kennedy's heart, go back and to the left.
You mean his brain?
Or his brain? There we go.
Too soon.
Does it? Well, no, I was thinking of the back and the left is. Oh, you're right. I was thinking of the magic bullet.
Yes, he was shot in the head.
I was thinking about the guy who got shot behind him. Who had the magic bullet that would like zigzag through his. Yeah.
Did you turn into Yoshi there?
Kennedy's out.
Okay. So that's a piece of fan art. Okay, so it's Mario and Toadstool in the car in the motorcade, and then it's Yoshi like reeled back with an egg and the cursor over Mario's head.
I wasn't acting alone.
And then it's like Bowser.
You do this, sure, history's greatest monster.
And then it's Bowser and Wario on the grassy knoll, like, we gotta run.
So we did it. We are gonna win.
Oh man, I'm so happy you're acting favorably to this. I can. Oh man, the mafia is gonna be so happy with me. Oh man, I can finally publish this fan fiction.
Quick, get Jack Ruby on the phone. I got a job for him.
You're the brother Robert's next. Woo!
Luigi would be the brother. That would be the Robert Kennedy in this scenario.
Yep. You don't remember Robario?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was only on the Super Show. Oh man.
But seriously, it was a national tragedy.
Yeah, no, it's a
anywho.
nation's innocence lost forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember where I was when I first learned that the Kennedys were shot. I was in history class. I fucking hated it.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I was like, take that, old man. Make way for me. I'm the next generation. Go fuck yourself, Kennedy.
So before I ever learned about, because they don't teach you about civil rights until your beliefs have been indoctrinated into you enough to realize this shit's still going on. Before I learned about that or liberalism or anything, I had to for some kind of social studies project had to be pick a president and say why they were famous. And my assignment or whatever that I got a C on, it was an essay that basically said Kennedy is famous because he got shot and he wrote a book called Courage Under Fire. It's like,
Died as he lived. That's
he died as he lived, being assassinated.
Gotta finish writing this sequel. Oh no! What's that in that window?
So,
Jack, take a note.
Every time I try and do Kennedy, I just do Quimby.
Yeah, they're very similar.
Oh, they're the same.
They're the same man.
Yes.
Someday Quimby's going to get assassinated, and that's going to be a very special episode of The Simpsons.
Not until his BO dies.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
That's how they'll handle it.
And then they'll use a time machine to bring him back.
Yeah, stay the course, Simpsons writers. You're doing great.
Top of your game. Yeah. But
so let's say we
you go up into the left, like you just get the shortcut, right? Like, do we have to say that really? Like that's what you're gonna want to go for, just in case, because it would suck to die to the Dirty Colossus and have to do all of that again.
Yeah.
So it's insurance.
It's kind of an insulting shortcut too, because you basically just kick a board over, and like you bypass this 2.5 hour level.
The on the way there too, between you and the shortcut is a waist high barrier that, unlike in Dark Souls, you can actually climb over these. But I didn't know because you had to press up against them for a second to do it. So I just walked all the way there and was like, "Fuck! Why? Why is this dead end here? This is so stupid."
You were just so conditioned to believe that they were that cruel. Like you had no reason not to believe that they were, not going to do that.
The same thing happened to me in Latria too, where there's like that bridge and you can go down there and get a stone of ephemeral eyes, and then there's a waist high thing on the way back. I'm like, well, I have to kill myself to get this fucking stone of ephemeral eyes. That's worth it. Yeah. Like, I understand the game's trying to tell me these are valuable, but I never use them.
Yeah.
Those 4 depraved ones down there, you just want to snipe them, the giant ones. The idea of going down there and fighting them hand to hand is insane to me.
Yeah.
So
I didn't realize that until it was too late.
They're annoying too, because when you shoot them once, they run off into the swamp where you can't see them, and then slowly saunter on back. And they take, from that distance, they take 4 shots, I think, and there are 4 of them, so it takes quite a long time to go down there. And I can't even remember what you get. Like, you get something that's worth it, but I can't remember what it is that's down there.
I can't imagine what would be worth it.
No, I guess not worth it. Something that's like, it's not a crescent grass.
Like Forgotten Hero's soul.
Yeah, I think it actually is. I think it's a hero soul. It's like a big soul item.
Yeah. So let's see here. Yeah, there's a crystal lizard, but that's up in the. I think you get nothing. That's just on the way to the leech and the faded gold armor.
It's a soul. It's a soul item because I remember using it after this. So I'm pretty sure it's soul.
It's like Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. That was worth it. It was just try my patience. It wasn't hard.
It
sniping.
is. Oh, speaking of teaching you that those are valuable, 3 stones of ephemeral eyes.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And then maybe it's on the way back. I got a hero soul somewhere.
Traditional hero soul.
Yeah. The stones of ephemeral eyes, which is, that's pretty good if you're using them things. But instead, if you go to the left, you go to the boss fog, and you come into the Dirty Colossus.
I love this boss fight.
It's a good boss fight.
It's like really good.
Yeah. Yep.
Like so the Leechmonger was way too easy, and we can point to any number of examples of bosses that are really hard, depending on the strategy you choose. But I've done this both ranged and melee, and it's been like satisfying and challenging both times.
Yeah, he's pretty fair.
Yeah.
I don't find it super difficult, but it's not easy.
The one thing I would say about him, like he's got the fair style, like he's got a gimmick to him, which I like.
Yeah.
But the gimmick doesn't come into play that often unless you're kind of keeping your distance. So he's got that fairness. I wish he had a kind of a more diverse moveset.
Yeah.
To him. Yeah. Because he gets pretty predictable pretty quick. So it's fun to fight big things and roll out of the way and dodge. And that's always going to be fun.
Yeah.
But it got to, like, I've never died to this guy.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't, it's never been that challenging for me. But I like the idea of him firing these clouds of flies at you. Like, that's very cool.
Yeah, so he fires these flies at you, and they become kind of this force field of flies around you. And they do a lot of damage, and kind of in a not obvious but pretty cool way, you can shake them off by rolling into or running into a torch
Yeah.
like to burn them away. And those torches are scattered pretty liberally throughout the entire area.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the thing I like about him is making that connection. Like making that leap is really satisfying. Like, oh, if I actually did it the opposite way. Like I got burned before I had any flies on me, so I saw that they would burn me, and then put it together afterwards.
How to get burned?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a little bit of the opposite, but it was a satisfying leap.
How to get burned?
I know.
Okay.
I heard you.
But you didn't answer me. How to get
I know.
burned?
Well, I know. There's no answer in the thing.
I know.
That's the point.
Yep. But yeah. So if you're flied. If you're Jeff Goldblum, the Flied, you're not able to roll, which can be dangerous if he closes the distance. The one wrinkle that he throws in that keeps him from being just another Asylum Demon, Mark 1, is that if you're close enough, he does like these shields of flies. Like he just will fly an area around him, which makes it so you have to manage your distance from him as you're doing your circle strafe deal around him.
I think. Or go ahead.
Oh, the one thing I don't really like about this boss fight, which I think maybe is what Gary was getting at when he said there was kind of a lack of moves, lack of variety in his moveset, is I find that I get in this pattern of him flying me over and over, and then I have to walk into the fire, and I have to do that like 10 times in a row, and it gets kind of frustrating because I clearly understand the gimmick, and he's not doing enough damage to kill me, and I have like 50 healing items, so I'm just kind of... It makes the boss fight take longer than it needs to, kind of, and...
Yeah.
Yeah, he also goes down, like, I did this, this is almost the last level in the game I did, but I was pretty powerful at this point. So he goes down real quick for me.
It would have been much more interesting if his arena wasn't the biggest arena outside of Quilog's domain.
Yeah, if there's a little bit more, like traversal.
Yeah.
That you had to do, maybe cover or something like that, so you had to kind of make an approach from the flies, and then... Yeah. Yeah, what I wanted is a third-person cover-based Dark Souls game. That's what I'm looking for.
Oh,
I'm
sure
maybe
somebody's
some sort
done
of
that.
Assault rifle that scales with dexterity.
Yeah,
but if you get close enough and your chance to crit is high enough, you can do like a curb stomp and then just it's got a chainsaw bayonet.
Yeah. Your Moonlight Sword just starts spinning around.
Yeah, and if it was 4-player co-op.
Sure. Actually, 4-player co-op's a pretty fun idea.
Yeah, it's true.
For this. If difficulty scaled, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the music in this is pretty cool because it's pretty sparse as well. I think that like in terms of atmospheric music for bosses, this is pretty high up there for me.
Yeah, it's a cool fight. Like I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And then I don't know who this guy is. Again, like I like the idea of the bosses actually being somebody from the world, but I don't know who he could be. There's not like he doesn't become an item that makes it obvious who's under all that filth and flies.
So they call him the Stinky Colossus, and I can see him being like an idol that was manufactured. He looks statuesque. Right, so I don't like. There's almost nothing. Oh man, hunky, right? like a fireman calendar, right? No. But yeah, like a colossus, like a gigantic statue of a thing. I could see that with these worshipers and whatnot. Just made out of filth and maintained with filth, and then eventually as an object of worship, being inhabited by a demon soul and taking over.
Yeah, coming to life.
That's pretty satisfying to me. But
I kind of something like that, something like the Adjudicator in World 4, where this figure is sort of like a part of their religious life or something.
There's
like
the weird.
entity.
I guess the thing I'm looking, like the connective tissue I'm looking for in that, and I'm satisfied with that too. But the idea that there is like a reference to there being like a ruler of this area that isn't Maiden Estrella. I think in one of the archstones, there's like a chief. There's a picture of a chief.
It's the chieftain's archstone, is what it is.
Yeah. So I want that chieftain, like, and I want something to be the chieftain, but neither of the bosses that aren't Maiden Estrella really work for that. So.
So here's some left field speculation. given that we find Estrella kind of backed into a corner at the end of the level with Carl Venland protecting her on this path, maybe the Colossus is going after Estrella rather than defending her, which would be kind of the thing you would logically jump to, I think.
Yeah, she's definitely kind of in this weird little corner. Like, she's not set up in an area that looks like it is elevated or holy in any way.
Or
like,
even
she's just
central.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, it is just the the bottom of the sock.
Yeah. I would like the idea of the Colossus being a monument to the chieftain who long ago passed away to disease.
Yeah, that maybe there's a skeleton somewhere in there. That
they entombed him in that, and that gave enough organic matter for the. It's really just a reach, but any of these are fluffy enough to be possible.
There's not a lot to work with in this game a lot of the time.
No.
Yeah. Except for this next area where there is a lot to work with.
Where there is the most to work with.
Yeah.
So you beat the Dirty Colossus, and you don't really get much in the way of a soul. Like, you can chug it, which gives you like 40,000, which is pretty nice. Or you can get the Acid Cloud, which is really, I believe, useful in PvP because it is like the Scraping Spear, and that it gets rid of equipment. But otherwise,
it's spiteful in PvP.
Yeah, useful in that it gets the most of a rise out of somebody. But
when I was doing my PvP in Dark Souls and did my Grim Reaper character, I did the equivalent, the acid cloud from Dark Souls, and I only used it to make entrances. Like, I just used it to spray it around a corner and then slowly walk out of it. And in this corner, we have Gary Butterfield. But I never managed to tag anybody with it because it's a spray spell. So.
Yeah, because
I don't think they're effective attack spells. I really do think it's just kind of a tool for being a dickhead, like the Scraping Spear, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
The poison ones are actually really good in doing Mephistopheles' quest, and then in certain areas, like I ended up using the poison spells in my first playthrough, but the acid one, like I don't care about NPCs' equipment.
Yeah,
and I didn't do any PvP, so
yeah. As I said at the beginning, this episode is brought to you by Audible.com, and for you, our dear listeners, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/watchoutforfireballs. Again, that's audibletrial.com/watchoutforfireballs for your free audiobook.
Yeah, so you regardless of what you get from the soul, eventually you make your way into 5-3. The Archstone description says, once a sixth saint, which is difficult to say.
Just Six Sigma saint.
Yeah, so you have the sixth saint. Estrella lived with those awaiting death in the Valley of Defilement. She pledged herself to a demon soul rather than to a cruel god to ease the pain of the people here. And then you are in the archdemon fight. I think all the archdemons are more or less pretty badass.
Yep.
In this game, this is one of my favorites. It doesn't have quite the scale of the Stormruler or the striking set piece of the old monk, but this is great.
And there's really nothing else like it anywhere else in the game or in Dark Souls. Like, there's not another fight that has this kind of
feel to it.
Right.
Stuff. You should this is one of the few bits of Demon Souls dialogue that's readily available,
and we have some dialogue to cut in at appropriate times because contributor and friend Murph Murphy, he recorded audio from my stream. So
cool.
Yeah.
And this is something you could find anytime. This has been, when I was searching for it, you can find the Maiden in Black and this. Are the two pieces of dialogue that people care about. Yeah. But it's like a social encounter. Like, none of the other bosses seem cognizant or speak to you or even seem like they're capable of it.
Yeah, they don't address you or even acknowledge that you're there aside from to attack you.
Yeah.
And it's striking because you don't know what to expect. You've heard this saint built up over the course of this entire level, and you expect she's given her soul over to be a demon, And so you're going to go in there as going to be some kind of crazy, perverse, Silent Hill, psychosexual monstrosity who is, like just inhabiting, like
bed.
A bed, yes.
Yeah, floating bed.
Yeah, like a floating bed, and filtering in all of the purity and taking and putting out all the filth that's here. Like you expect that, but she's just a lady.
Yep.
Just a lady with a knight.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, when you come in, I mean, she talks to the knight too. You get this little cutscene where she sends Garl Vinland out, and she says like, "May no harm come to you." When she sends him out, and I thought the concept of the boss was going to be that he regenerated or was immortal, like she was casting like a curse on him or a spell on him that did that.
Yeah.
When I first, and then he can heal himself too, but it's so slow and it doesn't really matter. So that's what I thought at first when I got in here, but that did not turn out to be the case.
He is pretty much the boss. Like she doesn't do anything, if I remember correctly. Like absolutely nothing at all. She
can do some stuff when you get down to her, but and the other thing that's interesting is nobody attacks you right away. Like it is purely defensive. You have to opt in. You're just around this lip of this kind of pit, like slime plague pit, and there are depraved ones worshiping in the general direction of her that are non-aggressive. Yeah. It's worth noting that if you kick one of them down into the plague babies will attack them.
Oh shit!
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can go backstab crazy if you want.
So there are shades of Priscilla here. I never tried to leave because I'm history's greatest monster. Can you leave?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Nope.
So
I assume you could walk back to the previous Archstone and leave, but you can't progress with the game until.
Well, yeah, there's that.
Yeah. Well, there's a wall that starts. It comes up behind you when you start.
Oh.
So
really?
it's the
Huh.
Yeah. You can't use an Archstone while you're in a boss fight.
Okay.
You could die. That's what you have to do with the doll or with the false idol, fool's idol. You have to die in order to kind of leave and go take care of your business. But yeah, and it's kind of an ingeniously designed little room too, because it's designed to where to get to her you have to go through either Garl Vinland or go through the plague. Well, there's no area you can hit her with a bow or anything. I think someone has found a way to do it. But
I've seen strategies for doing that, but yeah, it's real geometry hacky.
Yeah.
And if you fall into the plague, Garl Vinland actually says something like, "May the acid of the swamp eat your bones," or something like that. Like
good luck
he
with
taunts
that.
you to say, like,
yeah.
And
it's true too, because these things are like, I haven't survived when I've ended up in there.
No. Like again, the comparisons to Silent Hill abound. If you do drop down into that swamp, God help you, because those aborted fetuses, God help them, they're determined little fuckers. They rise up and they attack you in a group, and they've got like their little knife things. It's worth noting that these fetus monsters resemble something from Berserk. Hint.
Yeah.
There is some good treasure in there that's worth getting, which is probably best gotten after you beat the boss. You can kind of come back to this Archstone and poke around slowly.
Yeah, after you kill a stray, the babies don't come back.
Yeah, I haven't. That's interesting. I haven't been back here.
Yeah.
Afterwards, what is the treasure?
There are two different ultimate upgrade materials in there. The pure Mercury Stone, which is for poison weapons, and the pure Marrow Stone, which I think is the backstab damage one. Or maybe bleeding damage, one of the two.
Yeah, Marrow Stone does bleed damage.
I thought that was Sucker Stone that did bleed.
Oh, yeah, it might be Marrow Stone that does.
It could be backstab then. Yeah. So but those are the ultimate upgrades for both of those weapon types are in the Swamp Pit. And then there's also like the largest type of soul, like Legendary Hero Soul or whatever it is.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, I haven't been down there. I never had any plague resistance, so I always needed to just kind of avoid getting the plague in real life and in the game.
Well, just don't hang around prairie dogs and you'll be fine.
Yeah. I don't. I make a point of not prairie dogging it. So Garl Vinland kind of comes up and just on the path just kind of plants himself.
Yeah.
And stands there with his Grant or Brant.
He's Brant, like the like Philip Seymour Hoffman's character in The Big Lebowski. I'm gonna have to disagree with you, dude.
Yeah,
can't go.
And you fight him as a normal dude. He's very defensive. You can't lure him out, and but he's not too difficult. Like that thing hits hard, but it's pretty slow. And his spells are pretty much worthless. And you can very easily, you could do it at level 1, bait him into attacking then while he's in the, after he hits the ground, run up and hit him.
Yeah.
Yeah, treat him like Hovel or something.
Yeah, never get hit.
Yeah. Yeah, with the meat cleaver, this was trivially easy just because I was able to bait him into attacking, and then I would just keep him locked by knocking him down with a two-handed attack.
He does try to engage you in a place that's favorable to him because the path is super narrow, so you can't roll to the side and backstab him where he starts out.
Yeah, but you can roll backwards.
Yeah.
And be okay.
And if you get behind him, you can actually lure him down to the floor where, there is plague, but if you can avoid it, you can actually get around behind him and you can be a little bit more nimble.
Yeah. It's a good place to practice parrying, too. He's pretty easy to parry because he has such a long wind-up.
Yeah.
And it's so consistent. He does the same attack more or less every time.
Yeah.
But and when he tries to heal himself, that's your opportunity to just go up and just stab him until he probably dies at that point. So he's not too hard, but that's not really what the boss fight is about anyway. It's not about this being difficult. It's about making you feel like shit, for doing what you're doing. I love the dialogue when she comes in. I love that, there's nothing here for you to plunder. Yeah. What are you doing? There's nothing to take. And this is just we're already pathetic and you have come in to do this, she will actually, so Maiden Estrella, she will, if Garl Vinland is still alive, she will, if you manage to make it down to her, she will attack with Wrath of the Gods. She will do that anyway if you start attacking her. But interestingly, if you kill Garl Vinland and just talk to her, she will kill herself.
You killed him, didn't you? Very well. I can no longer resist you. Do as you like. Take your precious demon soul.
Yeah, that's how I've always done it.
The canon.
I've never skipped Garl Vinland or tried to run by him. So,
well, even if you get past him and then you attack her, then she won't kill herself. But if you let her, she'll just kill herself.
Yeah, it's worth noting, in all the various don't shit your pants combinations of this, if you kill her first, then Garl Vinland will just hang his head in sorrow, and then when you come back, he's gone, he's dead. Yeah.
There's sort of an implication that they're lovers, which runs contrary to the fact that they call her Maiden Estrella in some of the dialogue and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that it's like the fetus thing. Where I haven't been able to find dialogue that supports that they're lovers. I think it's one of those popular little lorelets that everyone kind of picks up on, but I haven't been able to find a source for it. He's very devoted, but I don't think there's anything that shows that he's actually porking her.
Yeah,
porking her. Cruel Lord.
To put it in such an elegant way.
Just poetry, really.
Yeah.
Yes. You're an observer of the human condition.
If we're gonna get down in the shit, let's get down in the shit.
Yeah. She's already.
Orgy.
A what orgy?
Slug orgy.
Slug. Okay.
What do you think I said?
Slit orgy. I was like, wait a minute.
Oh. No, well, they closed that place down.
Cruel Lord, what more can you possibly take from us? Dear Lord, you are too cruel. That's probably the dialogue you were thinking of.
I swear there's another piece of dialogue where there's something like that, where it says something different than that, where it doesn't sound like she's talking to God, like she's talking to you specifically. Let me pull that up real quick. Just so to satisfy my own.
That's all I found. I feel like she might be in the latter part of that, the "Dear Lord, you're so cruel" or whatever. She might be talking to you, but using it as an expression. Dear God. Yeah.
Dear God.
Dear God.
you wicked crab in my style. Yeah. Yeah. But then she immediately turns around and says, "You have abandoned us. Is that not punishment enough?" Which makes her a Christ figure. Dear God, why have you forsaken me? Right.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. I don't know. It could be she's just a bricklayer from New York, and she's just saying, "Dear God, why are you doing this?
Dear God, these taxes are killing me."
Yeah. So Maiden Estrella, what she is and stuff. The more I think about it, and looking at so the source that says that she is a demon. We know that because we get the demon soul from her. She's a demon. We know that. But the only source that is against her or says anything negative about her in the whole game is the filthy woman,
right?
who is batshit insane, or definitely seems to be an unreliable narrator of some kind. I see her as an expression of the truth of Frake's kind of side in the macro argument, is that demon souls are a tool like anything else.
Yeah.
And that she, similar to like a theme, one of my favorite themes that comes up in WoF or whenever there's ancient religions, is the idea of people turning against God in favor of dark things because they work.
Yeah.
So like praying doesn't do shit, but this setting up this pentagram in my basement to Cthulhu might do something. Because it's extant, so it's therefore better. And I see her as an expression of that. Like they say that she is the most impure of all, and I think it is because she's actually taking these impure souls from these people and killing them, like putting them out of their misery, which is an act of mercy, but also an act of like great destruction and death. There's a thing where talk about people coming to offer up their souls to her. Is a line in something.
That was kind of the impression I got in regards to the pit being like the abortion pit or whatever. If people describe the level that way, like 5-2 itself, the whole thing, Valley of Defilement being for that purpose.
That's only because of Dennis Furia. The people describe the level that way. Just kidding, Dennis.
I don't really see the whole level that way, but I think that it's plausible that is the purpose of this room, because even the swamp here, the fact that it causes plague instead of poison, and it looks different. It's like a reddish kind of
purpley.
Yeah. It's disgusting, basically. But I feel like the implication is that they have been casting children into this pit since the filthy woman is talking about them snatching her child away, and probably doing so in praise of Estrella. Or
my gut is that this has been like the forgotten place for things that you don't want for much longer than Estrella has been here. Like the fact that all waste and all awful comes down here.
That's supported.
That's just a fact of nature. Yeah.
So
and just like she has set up shop here, nominally because this is a place of great sorrow, but realistically also because it's a place of great sorrow, so she can be here to harvest souls. Right.
Like the way I think of, so it's supported by the text that this has been this shithole forever. Like the filthy woman says, like things have changed since she's been here and stuff like that, and since Estrella showed up. But the way I think of it, like the narrative that makes sense in my head, and then it also thematically supports the endgame decision for me with King Allant, is that that she came here as a well-meaning missionary and turned to this source of power to actually do like a twisted version of good for these people, which actually happens to be like a euthanasia.
So is she killing them, or is she just slowly hollowing them in order to extend their lives?
Well,
I will take your essence in order to prolong you in this version of what my church considers to be the holy life.
I don't know if there's any, like, I just have her like taking their souls.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, there's nothing more than that.
Yeah.
But the reason why, so the way that I feel like it thematically backs things up is I think that one of the end decision you're making in the game, whether you more or less side with the old one or put him back to sleep, is that of like, is the world worth saving? And I talked about that a little bit later, and this is kind of Exhibit A for that. And like I feel like that's kind of a through line through this game. Like when she talks about you, and if you are an agent of God doing this thing, like you are the same thing that she is doing. Like you are taking, killing people and putting them out of their misery, as opposed to it just being purely for the sake of power or purely for the sake of demonicness or evil.
So she's the only like human who has willingly embraced an archdemon soul, right? And she is not
King Allant.
I suppose, yeah.
And then the old monk.
True. Okay. So there we go. But willingly, right? So Allant willingly did it. The old monk was trapped into doing it. I believe that, or he made a bargain with it, et cetera. I don't know. But like Estrella kind of exists as this example that like you're not going like demon souls are not inherently a corrupting force, right? Like, yeah, she may be doing fucked up shit, but that's because she lost her faith. Like, it's not going to immediately turn you into a monster.
And that's what Frake is saying. Like, so Frake names all three of those people and says those are the people that have, willingly taken a demon soul, and like he wants it for power, And we'll probably talk about Frake in our wrap up episode where we kind of do the Nexus stuff and do Mephistopheles, for the end game, and talk more about his kind of position here. But that's it. Like, that's his point, is that it's not. It's a power to be used and nothing more than that.
Right.
And I see that as this being another kind of an example of it. So
okay. So I just didn't have that context with when I was making that point.
Yeah. So I mean that's what I kind of came away from it with. I don't know. Like, I first read it straight when I first came here, that like, this I feel really guilty. The music is trying to make me feel guilty. I feel guilty. And then, you get a demon soul from her. People start saying she's a demon. I'm like, oh, well, what is she actually doing then? And I thought about, Quelaag, and I thought about, just harvesting souls for something. But she doesn't, there's nothing to do it for. Like, she doesn't have a motive other than to be there as this kind of relief. And everything paints a picture of her that, except for the filthy woman who is, cackling mad.
But what is your reliable source other than the filthy woman? Like you're talking about people like Salen and the level intro text and stuff. I don't really feel like there's any NPCs in the game that paint.
Urbane does. Urbane, and then also the Archstone descriptions.
Yeah, but you're talking about like Urbane and Salen, who I don't think, if they're representatives of the church, and we're kind of establishing through Frake's dialogue, I think we're kind of all in agreement based on like the Talisman of Beasts, which you talked about in the prior episode, I remember correctly. The people in the church don't know what they're talking about in this game, right?
Yeah, they're in active denial, I believe.
But they can be in denial about one thing and not be, about another thing. Like in the game with so few narrator or so few voices in it, like having, three sources and then one source that says the opposite that's clearly portrayed as deranged is a lot of sources for this game. Like there's no other character that four different people talk about except for Alond.
But so, let me clarify. You're siding with the deranged one?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I don't think the deranged one. I think that like everything that she says paints her to be the deranged one, like the filthy woman. You mean?
Yeah.
I think everything she says paints her to be unreliable in regards to just about everything.
I'm not necessarily siding with her either. I just don't know what makes Salen or Urbane a reliable voice, I guess.
Archstone descriptions, too. Like, that's pretty much as close to what we get as Word of God in this game. As
I guess those and item descriptions are more. But the item descriptions, I actually went through and looked at the item descriptions for all the things you can make from Maiden Astrea's Soul. And they're pretty weird. I started talking about that before the show started recording. But they almost contradict each other in some ways, and I feel like some of them were poorly translated and make this even more unclear than it already is.
Yeah, and they're a mixed bag too. So they are 2 healing spells, and then a weapon, and then a specifically a death spell or death fog, which it sounds about
spell.
Yeah, which sounds
I mean, and so that diversity of purpose of her soul being the purest one, that kind of supports Frake's assertion, right? Which is, this is just power, and it can be corrupt or pure depending on how people use it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like the sword is a sword of true nobility. Is what all it says about it. So it's a weapon, but it's also a nice thing. And then what does the Death Cloud thing say here?
The Death Cloud says, a spell from the demon Maiden Astrea's soul. It generates a cloud of plague. It is natural that those who take in all that is impure are themselves the most impure of all.
Yeah, so like she's not, she's taking in the impurity. Like you could almost, and this is all reachy nonsense, but like the idea is similar to, the fair lady in Blighttown, kind of like taking, one way or another curing these people.
Yeah, but she was rendered like ill beyond all repair, and she had to be basically kept on life support the entire time. Whereas Astrea, by all appearances and rights, thrived.
Yeah, I mean maybe she doesn't move,
and
like she could very well be not ambulatory.
Yeah, and I thought there was a difference there. I do see a similarity there to the Fire Keepers, who all sort of have the same sort of making a sacrifice, and they're all these like female martyr figures in Dark Souls. And I actually think there is kind of that's sort of an unexplored area of lore discussion about Dark Souls, like reading questions of gender and like what the purpose of these martyrs and why all the firekeepers are women like into it. I think that's a thing that is not really being talked about by any of the predominant lore people in any videos I've seen.
Yeah.
The Relief Miracle says, though Estrella is the most impure demon of all, her works are equal to those of divine beings.
Yeah.
You know, which if you buy that as just the definition of the word, you know, like if you equate divine with good, like that's supporting her doing good. But if you don't equate that and you think of it as divine, and we know that the old one and God are one and the same, like if you have that interpretation of the old one not necessarily being a malevolent force, you know, which I buy into.
Yeah, I definitely don't think you can equate divine with good in the Souls game.
No. I'm saying either way, though, it supports, you know, a way of doing it. So it's saying that it is a great work and that it is a good work, or it is saying it is a divine work, which is as of the old one. And the old one, though he's fucking everything up, like there's the end game more or less cast a lot of kind of shadow on whether that is, you know, they're not going to have a villain in a Souls game that is just out for, you know, demon's sake. Like he's not doing it for the lulz, you know, like I don't really feel like that's what's going on here. And like meta wise and in the game, like it would be unsatisfying to just have a force of evil in the game that was the end of the motivation.
This gets into end game discussion, but you know, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not like it just needs to be here. I don't think he's doing it for the lulz. I think he's a child.
Yeah, maybe. Like, is that based
not
on
intelligent?
Based on Black saying "be good"?
Well, yeah, based on the entire relationship between the Maiden in Black and the old one. Yeah. Like just it is a childlike being, which doesn't know. Like all a child is a ball of needs and consumption. So
I kind of saw it as an animal, so it's a similar same ballpark.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're already in game time, but like when Alant talks about it, like the dialogue when you're killing Slug Alant, you know, and so even if it is a force of nature, like the you know when Alant says like, you know, what are you actually? I don't have the dialogue in front of me because that's for, you know, 2 episodes from now. But like, what are you actually doing? Like, what about this is worth saving? Like that, I took that as read. You know, like he's a mutant slug or whatever the fuck that Alant turns into at the end. The weird like cat dog, like mutant cat dog creature. He looks like cat dog. But whatever the mutant cat dog he turns into, like I didn't see any reason for him to be lying or necessarily to be misinformed. You know,
I think Alant was
deluded.
Yeah,
I think Alant was summing up the point of the in-game decision you're making. I would agree with you in that way, because I think the game is kind of ultimately about this nihilism that comes from finding out that God isn't real, and then how you deal with that, whether you think that means everything is pointless and you should annihilate the world, or whether you still think the world is.
Yeah, and every part of this game doesn't show me a world worth saving. You know, like, I mean, I'm not saying about that about real life, but Demon Souls, you're just making a tour of suffering. Like, all 5 areas you're at are disgusting for one reason or another.
Should I cut this from the episode?
And just place it in the next one?
Well, no, not the next one. Put it in the appendix or something, because Jesus, fuck, we're giving up the punchline, fellas.
Yeah, I know. I apologize.
That's fine. No, it's the conversation naturally leads to this, and maybe we're late enough that it doesn't really matter. Anybody who's here is along for the ride anyway. But
I'm definitely not worried about spoilers. The only thing I'd be worried about is taking material from that episode. But we can, you know, we'll reiterate it with the dialogue at hand and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it plays in together. Like I think that out of the different encounters, because this is, you know, a social encounter, like it can actually play into the larger plot in a way that you know the Dragon God really can't. Yeah, and I think it does.
It feels like, you know, the Estrella fight feels emotionally significant because of the presentation, because of the trappings, because it's just a lady and a dude and some sad piano music. But like this stuff gives greater context to like why it actually might or might not be a tragic thing.
Yeah.
And I realize you can beat the game in any order, you can beat the levels in any order, but for most people this will be the penultimate encounter before they face a law and finish the game. I think.
Yeah. See the first hour and 15 minutes of this episode.
Right. Yeah, because it is hard at that point. So what do you I mean, kind of wait, I guess people are listening until we get to that that final episode. But then lay it on us. Like, what do you guys think about this shit? Tell us about Main Estrella now.
Yeah.
But the how it works in the end game. Like, we'll be happy to read your theories and thoughts when we go into it.
Yeah. But we covered all the bases, and this is not our last archdemon, but the last of the numbered archdemons, really.
Yeah, next episode we are going back to 1.3 and 1.4 to kind of do the real, the actual gameplay end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have our guest line up just yet, but it will be someone neat, I promise.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have thoughts about that, duckfeed.tv/contact.
Yeah. Or the Facebook page, Duckfeed, or not Duckfeed, facebook.com/bonfireside chat.
Yeah. And thank you, Vivienne.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys.
It's
good to be here.
Pleasure
Always.
As always.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, jinx.
Do we have any, by way of admin stuff, rate and review all the things? Oh, shit. I'm glad I thought of this. I remembered it. So me, Nick Glauber from Check It Out Comrade and also of the show in the first season, and a couple other friends, I think on the 27th or 28th, are going to stream the Dark Souls drinking game. If you ever, let me find the URL real quick. Have you seen this yet? Either of you guys?
No, I have not.
No.
So it's pretty neat. It's preparetodrink.com. And you go to it and you answer a bunch of questions about your situation, and then it gives you your drinking rules. And they are as if they were designed from themselves. Like they are insidious. So it's a lot of if anybody in the room hasn't fought this boss, they must take the controller before they do it. And it's it is a drinking game that is probably result in people, if they followed it to the letter, getting alcohol poisoning. We're not going to die as a relate to it, but I think I might have a Dark Souls virgin who's going to come as well, so that will be a good fun time. And go to the Bonfireside Chat Facebook page is where we'll be announcing the link when we have the exact details kind of nailed down. So
yeah. I'm doing the questionnaire right now. I want to generate some example stuff.
It's pretty fun. You have to. It's a lot of if you're human, all drinks are doubled. And if you summon help, is
this shot rules or sip rules?
Oh, sip rules.
Okay.
You would die from shot rules. This kind of thing. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a real good time. Last year I mentioned it. We did Souls Bowl where we watched speedruns and drank on Super Bowl Sunday. But this year I think we're doing this instead.
There's a Lonely Hearts version of this. If you do it just by yourself, you die, you drink. Failure to reclaim souls, 2 drinks. Environmental death, 2 drinks. Kill a boss, take a victory drink.
It's pretty serious. But sipping rules, I think we'll survive the night.
Just get a 12-pack and go nuts. Huh?
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be super fun. So definitely check the Facebook page for that.
Yeah. Similar streaming news kind of stuff. It is twitch.tv/Duckfeed.tv. You can see me do the Valley of Defilement and any other BSC stuff I plan to put up there as well. So, yeah.
And I think that's probably it.
Cool. Blah blah blah. Is that all of our admin or?
Yeah, I think. I mean, we can keep it short. It's a longer episode. Do
we want to say what? Do we want to say what the season 3 is going to be?
Oh shit! Yeah, let's talk about that.
We probably should.
I think we talking about it. So we're calling season 3 Origins, is the pretentious subtitle we've given it. And rather than taking a break between Demon Souls and Dark Souls 2, we're going to explore a couple of influential works on the series. So we are going to do a couple episodes on Berserk.
Yes.
The manga and the anime.
Yes. So the tentative plan right now is to do the first volume of the manga, which is actually pretty good. If you can put some of the manga-ness aside, it's pretty good. And then also the first of the 2012 feature-length adaptations, which would be I believe it's the Golden Age Egg of the King would be that. I think that is that those are the starting points for those.
Yep, and we realize it's tangentially related to Souls. We're going to find influences and talk about them, but we're also going to kind of book club it and just talk about what we thought of it and kind of go through it. a little bit more directly related is we're going to do a few episodes on Kingsfield 4, City of the Ancients. And so we just decided to pick that one. We weren't going to do all the Kingsfield games. And that seemed to be probably the most playable friendly. It's also the only one that isn't in a series. Kingsfield 1 through 3 are all tell kind of one story. This is a standalone.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, and that should keep us tided over until Dark Souls 2 comes out.
Yeah, the format will obviously be a little bit different during that time, but we still wanted to put out some content, and these are things I've been wanting to explore anyway since I got the Souls bug. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Sweet. But yeah, other than that, which we have to look forward to, and you can pick all those up through the through the Amazon link. Other shows, other properties in the network. Gary mentioned check it out, Comrade. Also on the kind of new content front, there is Hexcrank. I assume by the time this comes out, I'm going to put out the article about Friday the 13th. If you don't know, that is the survival horror blog that I do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And until next time, what can they do, Cole?
Well, they can. Wait a minute. We've changed up the format here. Wait a minute. Let's see here. Well, Poison Swamp ahead.
There we go. Umbasa.
So the world might be mended.
Wait. No. That Umbasa crap, we just established that God isn't real.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon.
Listen, logic and my fedora are all I need. I
am euphoric.
Yeah,